Of all the habits that can set you apart from your peers mentally and set you off on a life full of success and fulfillment, reading is on the top of that list. What is up, y'all? It's your boy Big Joe from the North Side, and this is Young Bull University, where we teach young men just like yourself exactly what it takes to be successful in both your personal and social life. If you're new here, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you can become a part of our Young Bull community and be alerted every time we drop a video. In today's video, we're going to go over why most young men don't read, the benefits that reading can have on a young man over time, and if you stick around to the end, I have 4 tips on how any young man, yes, any young man can develop the habit of reading. So if you're ready to get started, go ahead and give this video a like and we'll get right into it. We're gonna start off with why most young men don't read. And I brought this down to 6 major points, okay? Number 1, no time. You got work, school, your girlfriend, a million other things pulling you left, pulling you right, and you only have 24 hours in a day. Some books take longer to read, going from weeks to months, and it's very time consuming. So at some point you're just like, why bother, right? The second reason that most young men don't read is because reading is hard work, especially when you get to a book like the Bible or a dictionary. Those books are bigger and they're very intimidating. Reason number 3 that most young men don't read is if a book has a movie, why bother? It's a known fact that if a book comes out with a motion picture and people begin to watch that film, the attention goes off of the book. The movies are more exciting, the gratification is way more instant, and people just do not want to read books after they have a movie already made about it. Nothing to gain from reading. Some young men see reading as a waste of their time. If they're not going to school and trying to graduate or reading for a job, they really don't see a need in reading, okay? 5, poor concentration. Now this is the reason that I had for not reading for the longest time. Now, it's a known fact that as young men, we are very distracted at times, and when you add in things like social media and video games, it's easy to tell why we have the attention span of insects, and those with weak attention spans will find it difficult to concentrate and immerse themselves into a good reading. I do have this to say. There's a lot of people saying, hey, I have ADHD, I have ADD, and this is not to belittle or take away from anyone that has been diagnosed or believes to have a diagnosis of one of these things, but I will say this. Concentration is a skill. Concentration is something that we have to work on continuously to build. If you're never using your brain for intellectual things, if you're not pushing your brain to its limits, I mean, you really can't be surprised that it's hard for you to concentrate. You have to work at it. Anybody can gain the skill of concentration, okay? And my last reasoning, number 6, that young men do not read is lack of childhood reading, okay? Young men that did not grow up with parents that read in the household or required reading of their children probably do not read. They don't find it fun. They don't find it entertaining. But I have some good news for you, young man. We are no longer children. We are grown adults. We can no longer let the things that our parents taught us or did not teach us affect the way that we live now. You are an adult and you can form your own opinions, you can form your own habits. You have to take accountability for your own life. And now is the perfect time for you to start reading and take control of your life. So those are just 6 reasons that I think that young men don't read. If you have any other ideas or any other reasons that you think young men don't read, please drop them in the comments below. I would love to see what you guys think and be able to talk to you guys down there. Now, before we get into the benefits that reading can have on a young man over time, I want to talk about this. Because if you're anything like me, you're probably saying, hey Joe, why do I have to read books if I can listen to podcasts? Why do I have to read books if I can listen to audiobooks? And this is what I'll say about that. There is nothing wrong with listening to audiobooks. There is nothing wrong with listening to podcasts. Actually, that's how I get the majority of my consumption out of books, is through my headphones at work, you know, on my mindless time, trying to make the best of all the seconds that I have in a day. But I will say this. A podcast or an audiobook is like taking a picture with your camera, okay? Boom, you got the picture, okay? And you can see the picture and it's there. Now, a book is like a portrait, okay? Think of your author as an artist. And when they're writing that book, when they're making that portrait, they have to do a couple strokes, think. Go back, do a couple strokes, think. Go back, do a couple strokes, think. It's a very detailed process. The portrait has layers to it. The book has layers to it, okay? And there's just something different about reading the words with your own eyes, letting your whole body and all of your attention be immersed in the reading, where the reading hits you different, okay? Reading physical books allows you to get a lot deeper into the literature than podcasts or audiobooks can. Now, what are some of the benefits of reading over time, and what can we expect to benefit from having the habit of reading? Number one, reading can transform your mind and thoughts. There are so many people, so many people that have completely changed their life and given the credit to books. I'm talking going from poor to wealthy, going from irresponsible to responsible, going from overweight or underweight and being able to get to a goal weight, and they give all of their credit to reading a book. I remember when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, who was a Marine Corps veteran just like myself, hoorah. I remember specifically learning the true definitions of assets and liabilities. And that really set the tone for me to become a more conscious and responsible adult when it came to handling my money. Now, yes, it did take me multiple years for that seed that was planted to actually harvest and for me to actually understand it. It also took me reading the book 3 times, but nevertheless, the seed was put into my brain the first time I ever read the words off the page, okay? Benefit number 2 that reading can have on young men over time. Reading stimulates your mind and reduces cognitive decline due to old age, okay? Now, there are no studies to prove that reading can prevent diseases such as Alzheimer's or dementia. Studies have proven that older men that read often are able to maintain and even increase their ability to remember. Yes, there are old men out here that are continually to increase the way that their brain can remember simply by reading. And that is because even though your brain is an organ, it works just like a muscle in the way that if you work it out continuously and you work it out properly, it will only get healthier and stronger for you. Benefit number 3 that young men can get from reading. Reading is going to help you relate to others. I remember very specifically being in the 8th, 9th grade and reading The Diary of Anne Frank, which is a book that follows a young Jewish girl that journaled 2 years while her family was hiding from the Germans during World War II. And as you can imagine, after reading that book, I had so much more empathy for others. I also had an insight to a life that was completely different than mine. You live in your little community, either you go to school, you go home, talk to your girlfriend, maybe you go to work, go home, you're in your little state, maybe you even move from state to state. Reading is going to give you the quickest look at life through someone else's lenses. Reading is the best way to see life and walk a little bit inside someone else's footsteps. Before we get off into tip number 4, if you are currently getting value, please give this video a like and share it with another young man that you know. That way we can share this message with everyone. The 4th benefit that reading can have on a young man over time is an increase in vocabulary, okay? Now, words are the foundation of sentences, and sentences are the building blocks of conversation. There is nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse than a young man that cannot articulate himself. Both women and high-paying professions alike look favorably upon a young man that can communicate effectively. It's important to be able to say what you mean, but also be able to say the right thing at the right time. Reading lets you in on the ideas of others, okay? Simply having an opinion on a subject or a topic is detrimental to growth. Every leader that you've ever seen, whether it be good or bad, whether they be leading people in the right direction or the wrong direction, has an opinion. Every good man is going to need to have an opinion. No idea is a waste, be it successful or not. Even if you're reading something and do not agree with the author, even if you're reading something and do not agree with what the literature is saying, it is important that we still read these things, okay? It is important to know the way that others are thinking. Some say that ignorance is bliss. I believe that ignorance to the thoughts of others is dangerous. I'm gonna say that one more time. Some believe that ignorance is bliss. Big Joe from the North Side believes that ignorance to others' thoughts is a dangerous game to be playing. If you're gonna be vulnerable enough to write down your wicked thoughts or your terrible thoughts or whatever, it's going to be very beneficial for me to read those things. That way I can better equip myself to protect myself and what I have going on around me, okay? The 6th benefit that reading has on young men is that it helps reduce stress. Now I know what some of you guys are saying right now. Joe, reading stresses me out. Whenever I go to read, it stresses me out. And this is what I'll say to that. Reading does not stress you out. Your ideas and your beliefs around reading is what's stressing you out, okay? Studies show that 25 to 30 minutes of reading lowers heart rate, blood pressure, and feelings of psychological distress in the same way that humor and yoga do, okay? It's a known fact. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to sit down, you're gonna have to just relax, you're gonna have to work at it, and I promise you that after you get that reading down, it's going to become relaxing for you. It's going to become a moment of woosah and a good breath of fresh air to get some knowledge inside of your body. Reading helps with depression. Now there are two types of literature. You have nonfiction and fiction. Fiction is fake, made up. Reading fiction can help a lost mind escape their troubled world. It's an opportunity for you to enter a new world where you can feel safe and understood. And if this reading is done continuously, it can help you see reasons as to why you can overcome every situation that you are faced with. Now, the 8th benefit that reading has on young men is probably the most important one to me. Discipline, okay? Building discipline as early as possible will help you navigate life better and create a foundation for long-lasting success. Every young man needs to develop a relationship with discipline. And you're not always going to be able to rely on motivation. You're not always going to be able to rely on somebody holding you accountable, somebody looking down on you, somebody make sure that you're doing what you have to be doing. Discipline is essential for every young man, and reading can give you that. So there you have it. 8 ways that reading can be beneficial to young men. If you have any more suggestions on how reading can benefit a young man, please comment them down below. Now that we've talked about why most young men don't read and the benefits that young men can reap reading over time, now let's talk about what actually it takes for us to build a reading habit. What is it going to take for us to become young men that enjoy and frequently read, okay? Number 1, as cliche as it sounds, you're going to have to change your mindset. The mindset that reading is stressful or difficult stops so many young men from taking up the habit. And you guys cannot be any further from the truth. Once you realize the important role that books play in learning and growth, you won't only find reading enjoyable, but you will also find it to be an immense stress reliever. And I keep saying that because I really mean it. You are going to find so much peace once you have the habit of reading, okay? But to get you there, you're gonna have to read something that you actually enjoy. And that takes us off into tip number 2. Find something you like reading, okay? Everyone is different. For the majority of people, reading fiction is going to be your easiest entry into getting this habit started, okay? My favorite books to read are inspirational nonfiction books by authors like David Goggins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Robert Kiyosaki, okay? Now, if reading seems too intimidating to you, you could always start off with smaller pieces of writing like magazines, blog posts, and any small piece of literature, okay? It only takes one good piece for you to fall in love with reading. Tip number 3, make time for reading. Set aside 25 to 30 minutes each day and build up the habit over time. Now, this is what I'm gonna tell you. When it comes to setting aside time to read, you're gonna have to be intentional. When you wake up in the morning, get a plan for your day, and in that plan, include what you're gonna read, where you're gonna read it at, and how long you're gonna read it for, okay? So, for example, you could say, after work today at 6 o'clock, I'm gonna read Rich Dad, Poor Dad in the living room for 30 minutes. That's everything right there, okay? Now, if you have a bad relationship with the living room, if in the living room you spend most of your time watching TV or being on your phone, then maybe going there isn't a good place to start a new habit because you may fall off into those old things. So maybe you'll have to go to your back porch. Maybe you have to go to a coffee shop. Maybe you have to go anywhere where you can gain the concentration and be able to start this new habit, okay? Tip number 4, and the final one that I have for you, always carry a book everywhere you go. I know growing up, you've seen that kid that wanted to go to the NBA. He always had a basketball on him, had one in his trunk, one in his mama's house, one at his friend's house. He got one in his locker. He was always ready to hoop at any moment. That's how you need to be with reading. You always need to have a book. And nowadays, there's no reason not to have a book on you. If you have a cell phone, you can have a whole library of ebooks in your phone, okay? Now, yes, having a hardback copy is nice. And like I said, it is just something that it's just nice to have a hardback copy book, okay? But if you have to have them on your phone, go ahead and do that. When you're at the doctor's office, waiting for your appointment, Go ahead and whip your phone out. Get a little bit of reading in. You're at work on your lunch break. Go ahead, whip that phone out. You had to drive your girlfriend to Target. Don't go into Target. I know you want to go in. All the girls are in there and it looks amazing and it smells like Starbucks. But no, sit in the car. Read that book for 30 minutes, okay? The only way we're going to be able to do this is having it accessible to us at all times. So in conclusion, reading is something that we're all going to have to do if we want to get ahead in life, okay? All of the progress that we've seen in medicine, business, architecture, and so many other things in the world are all the product of knowledge that was given through books, okay? So there you have it. 8 benefits of reading, 4 tips that you can implement today and start your new habit of reading. I hope this video left you with some value. If so, please go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe to this page, and I will see you guys in the next episode.